ABC Kinderteach presents Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters, an African Tale, written by John Steptoe. A long time ago, in a certain place in Africa, a small village lay across a river and half a day's journey from a city where a great king lived. A man named Mufaro lived in this village with his two daughters, who were called Manyara and Nyasha. Everyone agreed that Manyara and Nyasha were very beautiful. Manyara was almost always in a bad temper. There she is. She teased her sister whenever their father's back was turned, and she had been heard to say, "Someday, Nyasha, I will be a queen, and you will be a servant," someone who does things for her like a maid, "in my household." So she's telling her sister that you're going to work for me as almost like a helper, but not even like a sister. "If that should come to pass," Nyasha responded, "I will be pleased to serve you. But why do you say such things? You are clever, smart and good at solving problems, and strong and beautiful. Why are you so unhappy?" "Because everyone talks about how kind you are, and they praise everything you do," or talk about how great she is. Manyara said, "I'm certain that Father loves you best. But when I am a queen, everyone will know that your silly kindness is only weakness." Ooh, that is a mean thing to say. Nyasha was sad that Manyara felt this way, but she ignored her sister's words and went about her chores. Nyasha kept a small plot, or piece, of land in which she grew millet, which looks a bit like that, sunflowers, yams, and vegetables. She always sang as she worked, and some said it was her singing that made her crops more bountiful, grew better, than anyone else's. So she's always happy and always nice. Her sister, not so much. One day Nyasha noticed a small garden snake resting beneath a yam vine. "Good day, little Nyoka," she called to him. "You are welcome here. You will keep away any creatures who might spoil or ruin my vegetables." She bent forward, gave the little snake a loving pat on the head, and then returned to her work. From that day on, Nyoka was always at Nyasha's side when she tended her garden. It was said that she sang all the more sweetly when he was there. So she enjoys spending time with the snake. Mufaro knew nothing of how Manyara treated Nyasha. Nyasha was too considerate, careful not to hurt, of her father's feelings to complain, and Manyara was always careful to behave herself when Mufaro was around. Early one morning, a messenger, someone who delivers news like a mail carrier, from the city arrived. The great king wanted a wife. "The most worthy and beautiful daughters of the land are invited to appear before the king, and he will choose one to become queen," the messenger proclaimed, told to a crowd. Mufaro called Manyara and Nyasha to him. "It would be a great honor to have one of you chosen," he said. "Prepare yourselves to journey, or to travel, to the city. I will call together all our friends to make a wedding party. We will leave tomorrow as the sun rises." "But, my father," Manyara said sweetly, "it would be painful for either of us to leave you, even to be wife to the king. I know Nyasha would grieve to death, be very sad, if she were parted from you. I am strong. Send me to the city, and let poor Nyasha be happy here with you." Mufaro beamed with pride, was very proud of her. "The king asked for the most worthy and the most beautiful. No, Manyara, I cannot send you alone. Only a king can choose between two such worthy daughters. Both of you must go. So she wants to go, so she is picked and make her stay behind. But it didn't work. That night, when everyone was asleep, Manyara stole quietly out of the village, which means she left quietly. She had never been in the forest at night before, and she was frightened, but her greed was very selfish and wanted to have everything. To be the first to appear before the king drove her on. In her hurry, she almost stumbled over a small boy who suddenly appeared, standing in the path. "Please," said the boy, "I am hungry. Will you give me something to eat?" "I have brought only enough for myself," Manyara replied. "But please," said the boy, "I am so very hungry." "Out of my way, boy. Tomorrow I will become your queen. How dare you stand in my path?" So she's yelling at this boy who just needs some food. She's not very nice, is she? After traveling for what seemed to be a great distance, Manyara came to a small clearing, an open area with trees all around it. There, silhouetted like a shadow against the moonlight, was an old woman seated on a large stone. The old woman spoke. "I will give you some advice, Manyara. Soon after you pass the place where two paths cross, you will see a grove, small group of trees. They will laugh at you. You must not laugh in return. Later you will meet a man with his head under his arm. You must be polite to him." "How do you know my name? How dare you advise your future queen? Stand aside, you ugly old woman," Manyara scolded, got after, and then rushed on her way without looking back. So she's mean to everybody. Just as the old woman had foretold, said would happen, Manyara came to a grove of trees, and they did indeed seem to be laughing at her. "I must be calm," Manyara thought. "I will not be frightened." She looked up at the trees and laughed out loud. "I laugh at you, trees," she shouted, and she hurried on. So the lady said, "Don't laugh," but she did. That's not good. It was not yet dawn when Manyara heard the sound of rushing water. "The river must be up ahead," she thought. "The great city is just on the other side." But there on the rise she saw a man with his head tucked under his arm. Manyara ran past him without speaking. "A queen acknowledges, pays attention to, only those who please her," she said to herself. "I will be queen, I will be queen," she chanted, said over and over again, as she hurried on toward the city. Whew, she's making lots of mistakes. Nyasha woke at the first light of dawn, so she's still at the village with everybody else. As she put on her finest garments or clothes, she thought how her life might be changed forever beyond this day. "I'd much prefer to live here," she admitted to herself. "I'd hate to leave this village and never see my father or sing to little Nyoka again." Her thoughts were interrupted by loud shouts and a commotion, a lot of noise and confusion from the wedding party assembled. People came together at one spot outside. Manyara was missing. Everyone bustled about, moving around with a lot of energy, searching and calling for her. When they found her footprints on the path that led to the city, they decided to go on as planned. As the wedding party moved through the forest, brightly plumed, they had feathers, birds darted about in the cool green shadows beneath the trees. Though anxious about her sister, Nyasha was filled with excitement about all there was to see. They were deep in the forest when she saw the small boy standing by the side of the path. "You must be hungry," she said, and handed him a yam she had brought for her lunch. The boy smiled and disappeared as quietly as he had come. Later, as they were approaching the place where the two paths crossed, the old woman appeared and silently pointed the way to the city. Nyasha thanked her and gave her a small pouch filled with sunflower seeds. The sun was high in the sky when the party came to the grove of towering trees. Their uppermost, ones at the top, branches seemed to bow down to Nyasha as she passed beneath them. At last, someone announced that they were near their destination, where they were going. Nyasha ran ahead and topped the rise, came to the top of the hill. Before the others could catch up with her, she stood transfixed, stared in amazement at her first sight of the city. "Oh, my father," she called, "a great spirit must stand guard here. Just look at what lies before us. I never in all my life dreamed there could be anything so beautiful." So this is the city she's looking at. Arm in arm, Nyasha and her father went down the hill, crossed the river, and approached the city gate. Just as they entered through the great doors, the air was rent, filled with by piercing cries, loud yelling, and Manyara ran wildly out of a chamber or room at the center of the enclosure, building her house. When she saw Nyasha, she fell upon her, sobbing, "Do not go to the king, my sister. Oh, please, father, do not let her go," she cried hysterically in a very upset way. "There's a great monster there, a snake with 5 heads. He said that he knew all my faults and that I displeased him," made unhappy. "He would have swallowed me alive if I had not run. Oh, my sister, please do not go inside that place." It frightened Nyasha to see her sister so upset, but leaving her father to comfort Manyara, she bravely made her way to the chamber and opened the door. Is she going to see the 5-headed snake? I don't know. On the seat of the great chief's stool lay the little garden snake. Nyasha laughed with relief and joy. "My little friend," she exclaimed, "it's such a pleasure to see you. But why are you here?" "I am the king," Nyoka replied. And there before Nyasha's eyes the garden snake changed shape. "I am the king. I am also the hungry boy with whom you shared a yam in the forest, and the old woman to whom you made a gift of sunflower seeds. But you know me best as Nyoka because I have been all of these. I know you to be the most worthy and most beautiful daughter in the land. It would make me very happy if you would be my wife." So he says, "Since you're so nice, I want to marry you." And so it was that, a long time ago, Nyasha agreed to be married. The king's mother and sisters took Nyasha to their house, and the wedding preparations, getting ready, began. The best weavers, the people who made cloth for clothes, in the land laid out their finest cloth for her wedding garments. Villagers from all around were invited to the celebration, and a great feast was held. Nyasha prepared the bread for the wedding feast from millet that she had brought from her village. Mufaro proclaimed to all who would hear him that he was the happiest father in all the land, for he was blessed with 2 beautiful and worthy daughters, Nyasha the queen, and Manyara, a servant in the queen's household. So at the beginning of the story, Manyara said that Nyasha would be her helper, but it ended up being the other way around. And there they are at the wedding. I think that's Manyara there, and there's Nyasha.